And welcome back to Mixed Media Live. We're here for another Tuesday night of some amazing, talkings, topics, whatever, about our favorite things, which is music, film, and gaming. And so this podcast is a hodgepodge of a whole plethora of topics. It is pretty much, if you're an artist of any sort, you will find something in our vast catalog of, drop something. In our vast catalog of fantastic and diverse topics, you'll find something that will appeal to you, whether it's history-related, pop culture, reviews, interviews. I mean, there's almost anything you could possibly find. You want to learn from a director who made a film for $10,000? Go check that out by searching for The Frugal Filmmaker on our page. That's the word for it. You want to learn some core game design mechanics? Look up The Mechanic. Likely we have something about it, whether it's about shooters or whatever. If you want to learn, I don't know, something about the KGB and its influence on Russian classical music, you can learn about that as well. So this show is weird. And if you're weird and you love things, and you love learning things about beauty and art and all that kind of stuff, definitely check out our vast catalog. That being said, a shout out to our 4, I can't remember, awesome supporters. I'll name them: 99 Crime, K Kairos, and Alex Egbert, who support us for $5 a month. Oh, did I miss someone?
Say Post?
And Post. Yes, for supporting us for $5 a month at mixedmedia.locals.com. You can join them and find any link you want at mixedmediapodcast.com. Link right there, down there. And it really does help. It helps a lot. Things are moving at glacial speed here in terms of changing the podcast, but it's still moving. And while we couldn't make it around last week because Steph was not feeling too well, so I had to take care of her, and it was kind of last minute. But things are shifting and moving in the background. I have been doing things in the background. It's just slow. But the more supporters we have, the more I can justify spending time on this kind of stuff. So absolutely go to mixedmedia.locals.com. That'll help out quite a significant bit. With that, we should introduce ourselves. So, my name is Irving Nestor. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur. I own a company called Ariella, based out of Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania.
My name is Nathan Nestor. I'm a 3D modeler and video game developer.
Yes, and Ben is usually here, and he will be here probably in around 10 minutes or so. And he's got the main topic for today. He's just going to show up a little bit late. But in the meantime, we'll talk amongst ourselves about news and what's going on in our neck of the woods. So, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
What is going on? I haven't really done too much gaming recently. I think I don't know. We haven't been here for 2 weeks. I'm trying to think. There's got to be something. Oh, I saw the eclipse, I guess. That's entirely unrelated to anything artsy, but might be a really hot take. So maybe this is appropriate for the podcast. Okay. But that was all right. I don't know. It was kind of interesting novelty for the first 2 minutes I saw it. I don't even remember anything. The first minute I saw it, and I was like, now what? I don't know. So.
Yeah. That kind of leads me to what I did. So I had this I had a semi decently sized plan for the eclipse. It was a half baked plan because I literally planned it, I think, the day of the eclipse, because I was like I didn't really care, you know what I mean? I was like, okay, that's cool, that's a fun fact, this is happening, and I'll probably go outside and just check it out, and then go back inside and move on with my life. But then I was like, wait a second, because I was looking up some eclipse photography, and I was like, wait a second, this might look pretty sick. So, in terms of filming it, and I was like, I don't even need to look at it because I don't really care. I just, I want to see if I can capture it and capture the town as the eclipse goes on as a promotional, as some promotional material, right? Some nice. There could be a nicely themed ad or something around eclipses, or I don't know, who knows. I was just going to record it so I have it. It only happens so often, so it's kind of rare footage. Then I check the weather. Looks great. Perfect. You know. And then check the weather an hour, or I look out the window about like 2 hours before the eclipse, and I just see these gray clouds rolling in. And I was like, wait, what? Then I checked the weather again. The forecast changed to like rain. I was like, wait, no. And again, I don't really care from a personal level. I just want to catch cool footage. So I ended up deciding just to go out with one of my cameras. I was literally going to have all four of my cameras running simultaneously to catch both like crowd reaction, like people in town as they start looking up. That's what I was really after, honestly. That was the money shot. It was like, as it happens, like some people are just going to forget that it's a thing, and then they're going to be like, what the heck is going on? They're going to look up, and I wanted to catch those reactions, and I want to catch like people who were clearly sitting on their porch waiting for it to happen or something like that. So I really wanted to catch like reactions. That's the thing I was obsessed with. And so I was going to have like 4 cameras running, including the drone. Everything was going to be great. And then it decides it's going to rain instead. So I ended up going out with just one of my cameras just in case, I could see anything. Or if like the town getting darker might have looked cool. That didn't even happen because the rain clouds got so thick that made the town really dark. So that was pretty dumb, and basically I was sad. But I did get more of the eclipse than I thought I would through that camera because it peeked through the clouds like a few times. So there it was. And the funny thing is, I looked at the radar map of storms. It like literally like we basically had a specialized like singular rain system just for like where just pop up randomly. It's just like and I was like, can I even drive away from this? No, I couldn't. Like it literally the path of it was like the perfect like I was just not meant to do what I was trying to do apparently. So
guess not. Wow.
Yeah,
it was pretty cloudy this year.
What?
There wasn't many clouds at all here.
Yeah. But in terms of like personal interest, like I had the same exact kind of thing. I looked up and I was like, that's unusual. There's a disk over the sun.
Yeah.
And then I was like
a little bit like it was like I think it was weird. I feel like the color of everything was weird. Like it wasn't like it was just darker. Everything looked kind of desaturated to me,
Yeah.
Like, everything was a little more gray than normal.
Yeah.
But not just like it's not like a cloudy type situation. It's weird.
Yeah. I noticed the same thing when because like there's like the penumbra or something. I was trying to look into it so I could plan properly. I noticed the color of the sky and everything changing like about an hour before even the eclipse happened, or maybe a little bit less than an hour, like half an hour or something. I assume it's fringing caused by fringing and diffraction around the moon that starts to change some of the colors and stuff like that. So,
all right. Now, isn't there a dark side of the moon that's supposed to always be dark?
Yes.
Is that the side that was facing us? Or did it actually get illuminated?
Wait just a minute.
Right? Because did it just decide to face us when the eclipse was happening? What happened?
There's one side of the moon that always faces Earth. It's the same direction.
Oh wait, that can't be compatible then, because you think about the phases of the moon, different parts of the moon get illuminated. That means.
Yeah, exactly. So when we say dark side of the moon, we probably mean that almost always when we look up at the moon, it is bright because of the geometry, if you get what I mean. And the other side is not. But except in this exact situation, right? Where the sun is behind it. I think. I don't know.
I'm looking up as we speak. What and where is the dark side of the moon? It's supposed to be the side that we never see. The side that faces some blah blah. Okay, apparently it's misleading phrase. Okay, well, actually, is it though?
Is it not just the side that doesn't face us?
This is a long article, man. I'm trying to figure that out. Okay, the description of dark side is problematic. It seems to suggest that shadows partially cloak the surface of one side of the moon. Blah, blah, blah. While it's true that some part of the moon is dark at any particular time, it's not always the same part. Okay, okay, sure. Okay.
I'm gonna say it's the part we don't see is what we really mean. That's probably why it's a misnomer. No misnomer.
Yeah, okay. It says a more accurate describe the side of the moon we see is the near side, and the side opposite to the near side is the far side. The near side will always face toward us, and the far side will always face away. This is true even on the opposite side of the Earth. If you were to fly from America to Australia just to get a look at the moon down there, you see the same features you're familiar with back home. Okay, so yeah, it's just that okay, there's one side that's always okay. So okay, yeah, there's no darkness on the moon.
Yeah. Kai's in the chat. Sup, Kai? He says, "Wait, I'm confused. Ben is reviewing Musescore from afar. He's stopping in soon. He should be around in like any minute now. Yeah, he had an engagement, so he'll be around in a moment. Yeah. Anything else happen past 2 weeks?
I do not think so. No, I don't know. I think something happened, but I don't know, man. Maybe you say something, and I'll maybe think about it.
Besides my failed attempt to capture the eclipse, what else has been going on? I mean, boring stuff. I'm still in the midst of trying to close on this property, guys. It's gotten delayed again. It's driving me absolutely insane. I can't stand it anymore. Like, the amount of bureaucracy I've been going through and just random like speed bumps for no reason at all. The latest speed bump is that the home appraised for like 80,000 less than expected, and my lender was like, "Huh, this never happens." And I was like, "Well, it happens for us because this is how this process has been this entire time." And that's been pretty bad. And actually, it's kind of psychotic. That's a whole rant for another day, though. But the appraiser clearly has no idea what they're talking about. I reviewed the documents, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't know what you're saying. They compared our building to buildings with, like, collapsing roofs and, like... It's like, come on. No equipment in it or something like this. It's like, come on. So... I would appreciate more prayers. I feel like I keep asking for this every single time the show happens. I keep asking for more prayers for us to be able to close on this property. But here I am again, asking again. So, yeah, I don't think anything else of interest is happening. Not really. Did you think of anything?
I bought a bunch of CDs. So that's
what CDs?
I don't know. I don't even remember. I ordered them a long time ago. They're coming from Japan. So like, it's not
okay,
like
so they're all Japanese.
Yeah. The reason why it's a lot is because like once you oh sorry, I'm checking the website that I ordered from. Yeah, once you order, you can't just order one, right? Because shipping fee will be insane. Like the ratio will be so bad. So I just wait essentially a very long time. I just do it in like a batch. So it's like, yeah. So we're gonna see. There is the history or whatever. Currently, it's in FedEx limbo because the address I messed up basically, but I had to pick it up from FedEx themselves, their like warehouse or whatever. So I'm doing that tomorrow. Wow, they just don't tell me what I bought. Oh, their contents. That's what it is. So, wow, these are. Oh, I got a Trident CD actually. That was actually initially what like inspired it. I was like, oh, I only buy a Trident CD. It's actually an older CD, so. If you don't know, Irving knows. Well, Irving knows part of this. The Trident is a Japanese band. Part he doesn't know is that before the band existed, there was a different band called GRBK, which stands for something. I don't remember, but that was a predecessor band that then essentially eventually became Trident. Now Trident re-recorded many of their songs and released an EP that whose name I cannot read because it's in Japanese. But I think it's called Reconstruction. I think is what it translates to. I don't quite remember, but I bought that essentially. So it's a bunch of like older songs that got re-recorded with the new drummer because that's really all that changed. Oh, and also they had a second guitarist at some point for like 3 seconds in the older band. So was that, and then I got this crazy deal on I think Yahoo Auctions. First time I ever bid on a Yahoo Auctions thing ever. First time I ever bid on anything ever, actually. To be quite honest, it is like 15 CDs, I think, for $40.
Oh,
a little bit insane. A little bit insane. All of them, like some of them are literally unwrapped. I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. So yeah, that's what's going on. So yeah, it was hopefully get them tomorrow.
Cool. Yeah. How about some new stuff? I'll go first. I haven't really noticed that much and I'm checking. I just checked the headlines just to see if anything would jog my memory, and pretty much nothing is happening. But a few interesting things. So as the economy continues to wane, I've been saying this for a while. I don't know if people are tired of me saying it, and people are still feeling good enough economically, I think, where they're like, well, stop talking about it or something. They're tired of hearing about it. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like there's a general sentiment of like malaise over the stats coming out about warning signs in the economy, and then it's like lasts a year and people kind of want to shut off their brain, right? But in either case, it's still bad. So it's not it's not me trying to fear monger or doom monger or something like this. It's just still bad. It's just factually still bad. And we see it in the entertainment industry. I've shared a few concerning news items in the past on that front. One of the fronts that's interesting is that a lot of studios are leaving international production, particularly in Southeast Asia, because of the expense involved. A lot of people. There's a lot of pros and cons to doing productions abroad. It kind of depends on what your pipeline exactly looks like, because it could make it cheaper in theory. But in most cases with large productions for streaming services today, it makes it more expensive, which is stupid because streaming is already not profitable, and doing something more expensive to produce content for your not profitable service is not a very good way to to make more money. So as the streaming wars rage on, and competition forces even more pressure. I mean, think about this. You have to make new shows to stay relevant, right? But you're also competing against IPs that are now quartered off into their own streaming service. Like, for example, Peacock exists now, which is NBC's streaming service. And you might go, NBC? Why do I care about NBC? Well, you care about NBC because it has The Office. It has it has Parks and Rec. It's got all these like classic TV shows, and they're already done. They're already they're already made. Like there's no cost anymore to except for hosting, which is still extremely expensive in itself. But there's no production cost that's millions and millions of dollars attached to it as well, or contracts that could fall through that disturb your plans of your 20-year-long run that you've been planning for a particular show, right? So, so if you're Netflix, you don't have a deep catalog. In fact, your catalog's getting less and less deep over time as these other companies who have these streaming platforms are withdrawing content to, exclusive platforms like Peacock. So The Office used to be on Netflix. As far as I know, it is no longer. So, so on and so forth. So, if you're Netflix, your next best thing is to keep the buzz up, which means you have to keep production going. Your algorithmic-based production, which I've talked about in the past. And when you do that, you're going to spend a ton more money. And then you're going to lose more money. And then your share price is going to go down because there's no reason for anyone to invest in you. So it's a death spiral. It's something I've been predicting since the beginning of the podcast. So, And the only thing I hope is that it's not the death of media as well, simultaneously. I'm only hoping, in terms of the international scene, that there are some... international film has kind of been kicking our butts here in the United States in terms of quality of product, accessibility even though these things are like in different languages. I mean, Godzilla proved to us that wasn't going to be an issue in terms of telling classic stories. And I just kind of hope that the spark, the flame, stays alive in the international scene, and we kind of continue to import our way out of the problem here, in which you will not hear me say almost ever on the podcast in any other way, other than I think this might be the death of film and media if we don't have a holdover until Hollywood stops being absolute trash. So, and streaming has its proper reckoning. So yeah, that's the only thing I've noticed really.
That's tragic. What are you drinking out of?
This is a mason jar with a handle. They're pretty great.
Okay. And anything?
If you want cheap mugs, this is a perfect solution.
All right.
Also looks cool.
Yeah, on the gaming front, Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection came out. It's supposed to be like a remake of the classic Battlefront series. So the first one and the second one, only of course, there's only two of them. And it came out with overwhelmingly negative reviews, or I think it's mostly negative on Steam. The first game I've ever seen is $35.01. I don't know. I don't know what happened there, but there's that. Now, I looked at the developer, and the developer says Aspire, and I was like, Aspire sounds familiar. Like, what is that, right? And it's like, why wasn't it like DICE or something like that, or whoever, or I don't know, like anybody else? What are these people? I looked them up, and they're not like they're on a lot of games, like co-developing, because they seem to do a lot of Mac ports specifically. It's like Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. They're just like there as like the Mac port people, So,
so they never like designed on their own before now, basically.
Say again?
They've never designed on their own before now. Is that what you're saying?
They didn't have to design anything ever. It seems, right? They just kind of like take the thing that already exists and just like make it work on some system, I guess. So they did the Mac port of Planet Coaster as well, and all that good stuff. So they're on a lot of things. I don't know what happened like on this one or like that, but apparently there are a lot of bugs, and I guess they were on their own this time. Like usually it's like co-developer, right? Like this is just literally like they're taking something else from that's like ancient, and then they're just like, they presumably didn't get any other help, on like. Yeah. I assume when they're making Mac ports, they get help from, like it's not like literally, they can ask questions about how things are working or whatever under the hood or whatever, right? And figure things out. In this case, like I guess they were just left to their own devices. I don't actually know what went on in the background, but that could be something. But apparently there are a lot of bugs, and it launched with a total of 3 64-player servers. 3.
How big do you expect their launch to be?
So yeah, I'm thinking like obviously this makes no sense, right? Like, so you can custom host your own match, right? But right. This is not like a common. This is weird for launch of a large game. To expect that and only put 3. Like, what's the point of having any at that point? Why'd you have 3? What's the point of that? The games that come out that let you custom host servers typically have, like, if they have dedicated servers that are hosted by the developers, they typically have like a good amount of them, like a pretty substantial amount of them, not 3. I don't know why you do 3. That sounds very strange. Also, I was something else I was going to say. I'm thinking that it might have been like a glitch or something like that. I'm wondering if they tried to get more servers up. It just couldn't happen. Because apparently there were bugs with even getting up custom servers. So I wonder if like that just was not working out for some reason. I don't know why. But apparently very buggy. There were, 3 servers. So, there's that. Currently sitting at mostly negative reviews. So yeah,
Rip.
that's all I have though. Other than that, a lot of the news is just like, oh, new update, new game coming out, stuff like that. Nothing too out of the blue.
Yeah. Yep. On the slower side. By the way, while we're waiting for Ben, y'all in the audience, y'all who are watching, how are your guys' 2 weeks since we last streamed? What have y'all been up to? What are you working on? All that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's you.
Oh, sweet, perfect timing, absolute perfect timing. We literally just finished. I was just about to start fillering. Yes. Well, actually, I mean, we can ask you now before you hop into your topic. Any news, music news, or news in your own life?
I don't know if anything in particular in my own life. There some stuff I understand about a new contract between like the musicians union, I think in Los Angeles, and studios trying to get more streaming residuals. But I didn't really dive into that, and I need to dive into that before I actually know exactly what was agreed upon. So, yeah. Cool. Give me 1 second here. And while I check on some stuff here.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, while he's doing that, I'm going to attempt. We're in true mixed media fashion. We're gonna attempt some live technological wizardry. Ben is going to eventually attempt to share his screen, and hopefully I can pull in the video feed from Skype, if it behaves, into our session here. Now Skype in of itself is a terrible piece of software, so I'm kind of scared. But we haven't actually had many Skype problems lately, so maybe they got their act together. I don't know.
That's true.
It used to be horrible, absolutely horrible.
Being so stabilized for some
reason.
All right. Yeah. Let's see. I have to figure out on Skype screen. Okay, share screen. If I do that, oh wow. Okay, I have a million windows open because. Okay, we'll just take this for now. Start sharing. See how this goes.
Okay.
I see the screen.
I have a separate feed on Skype, so let me see if I can pull it in as a separate feed onto the editor. This is where the magic sauce may or may not work. Let's attempt here. Add input. If you're new to the show, you're tuning in. This is what you're in for. This is what we do. Let's see here. NDI.
While you're figuring that out, I can introduce myself.
Oh, sure.
So yeah, hi, my name is Ben Costello. I'm a flute player and media composer. And today on Mixed Media Music, we're going to be reviewing Musescore 4. Which means we're doing some screen sharing because I actually, instead of talking about, you listen to, I'm actually going to be talking about something visual, or somewhat visual, for the first time ever. So we're going to attempt this.
Yes. Actually, I've figured it out, and let me actually transition us over with our little transition segment, and then we can formally begin the segment. All right. Here we go.
Mixed Media Music.
All right. Welcome to Mixed Media Music, the portion of Mixed Media Podcast dedicated to all things music with a particular emphasis on classical music and on media music. And tonight, we are going to be talking about my review, my issues with Musescore 4. My name is Ben Costello. I'm a flute player and media composer, and I'm the main host for Mixed Media Music, and I'm assisted by my two co-hosts, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves briefly.
So my name is Irving Nestor. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur based out of Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania. I own a company called Ariella.
And my name is Nathan Nestor. I'm a 3D modeler and video game developer.
All right. So as I said, tonight we're going to be reviewing Musescore 4. At some point, a long time ago, when this maybe not that long ago, like I don't even know, a year and a half ago, when Musescore 4 came out, it took me a while to download it, and I think I talked about like what they're promising at some point in some news segment or somewhere along the line. But we're actually going to be reviewing it today.
There it is.
So, okay. So I have to, if I go to Skype, okay, so, great. That's working. Okay. And so it's all visible?
Yes.
Sort of? All right.
We're good.
Yeah. Trying out screen sharing live for you all.
Yeah.
Okay. So Musescore 4. I've been a Musescore user since at least probably 2012, maybe earlier than that. I'm just looking at my old laptop from 2010 that I used all the way from 2010 to 2019. Very dependable laptop, still works, except that it can no longer connect to the internet. I did a ton of Musescore stuff on there. Musescore 1, Musescore 2, Musescore 3. I had another laptop from, in between the one and the one I have now, has a lot of stuff, Musescore 3 on there, and this I have Musescore 3 and Musescore 4. So I've been using Musescore for probably at least 12 years, if not more, at this point. From close to the beginning. And, the allure of Musescore is that it's free. And it's pretty good.
Oh.
It's always kind of a draw to it, right? It's pretty good for a free music notation software. I was never going to compete with the stuff you had to pay $700 and perpetual license to Sibelius or Finale, the industry standards. But that's okay because it's free. That was sort of the draw of Musescore. Now, if you go back to wherever it was that I talked about Musescore 4, they at some point along the line got YouTube user composer person who talks about music named Tentacruel made a video criticizing Musescore 3. He made a bunch of videos criticizing every music software notation program out there, but the people who own Musescore saw this video and they're like, great, let's hire him. They did. They hired him, and he led this. What was built is this massive redesign of Musescore to make it commercially not viable. Not in the sense that it's still completely free, but meant to be able to compete with your Sibelius and your Finale and your Dorico. And to that end, they added a ton of features and did a whole bunch of things that were supposed to make it, be able to produce things that were not just close and good enough for a lot of things, but like not the kind of, standard of excellence that these other programs could come up with. So they made a bunch of tweaks to that, and it sounded like something to be really hopeful about. The long story short, my conclusion is Musescore 4 is kind of a waste of time.
I have a question about how they hired that one guy.
Yeah.
How do they make money? Is it donations?
So they have the way they make money is that there's Musescore.com, and actually, just like the other day, they totally rebranded the entire name of like everything that they did. They have I don't even know. Musescore is now like, I don't remember. It's like Musescore notation now. There's Musescore.com, the Musescore marketplace. So what you can do is you can pay for a subscription on their website. You can like share your scores publicly, and you can sell things, and you can also pay them. They have deals with licensing and publishing entities out there that have licensed music, and you can, if you pay them whatever, I don't know what the fee is, you can then make arrangements of licensed music, and then you can put it on their website, and you can sell that too for some amount of money. Now, so that's how they make their money. I can't imagine anyone's really making much money doing this.
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, Musescore obviously makes money from this, but if you look at the stuff on Musescore.com, a lot of it is just not of high quality, and some people do put high quality stuff out there, but this is not like it's the way for like complete amateurs to I write a little bit piece for piano. Well, that's great, you put it out there, but I'm not going to pay money for it probably. For your little 2-minute piano exercise or something, I'm probably not going to pay for that. And if let's say you did a great arrangement of, I don't know, a song from Frozen, like Let It Go. Okay, it better be a really good arrangement, and I need a really good arrangement, say, of Let It Go for me to want to pay money to Musescore to use it. Personally, I'm probably make an arrangement myself, or find one that's not through Musescore that I like. So I can't imagine there's much money in this for the people who do it, but there's clearly like a pretty healthy community that uses it in some capacity, even if it's, I don't know, just to kind of pat each other on the back and give them a few cents for their piano piece or something. I don't know. My understanding is that's their business model. So yeah, my long story short is there are some minimal improvements at great cost. If you're using Musescore 4, and I think technically I'm using what is the version I'm using? Let's see. I am currently, I think it should tell me what I'm on. No, I don't. There used to be a way to tell you exactly which version you are on. Yeah. Check for update. Maybe that will tell me what I'm on. It just says I have the latest version. I have like 2.4.2 point whatever it is, the current most current version of it. All right. So let's look at some of the ways that it does or does not make life easier. And we're going to compare it to Musescore 3, because the complaint about Musescore 3 is that it just doesn't look professional enough. All right, so what I have here is probably the most complicated score I've done, at least in Musescore 4. And so I'll clarify. We'll start with like what I use Musescore for, and what that's going to say about like what I'm talking about. So I mostly do not compose on Musescore. If I'm composing, I'm mostly writing by hand, or I'm like playing something, on an instrument and recording it and then writing it by hand. And only when I really have mostly a finished product am I going to put it in Musescore. So I'm not really composing with it. And the majority of the like fancy changes between Musescore 3 and Musescore 4 have to do with playback. We have better sound fonts, much more detailed in, mixing controls. To me, this stuff is mostly completely irrelevant, because I don't use it to like compose and be like, well, I need to hear how that sounds, and I need more realistic sounding instruments so I can, get a better idea of what it might sound like. That's not really what I'm doing. Mostly what I'm doing, like I said, I'm taking a finished or nearly finished product that I've composed and entering it into this program. So I have it, looking professional as actual notated music. Or I am doing a lot of engraving and transcribing and arranging and editing, mostly for my own purposes. I've done a little bit of commissioned work, and I think honestly, I really love engraving, which is just taking music that is already written and doing that, right, entering it into the software, and
It's called
creating
engraving. Is that what you said?
engraving. Yeah, and it's its own kind of art form. There are lots of rules about things you do to make things look really nice. You have your own sense of personal style, of course, but there are lots of conventions, things, and different conventions depending on if it's like a, musical theater, film score for recording session, jazz, lots of different conventions, lots of different like house styles and things you want to know. I find that stuff really fascinating, actually, and if I ever, like, if you really want to like make money off doing it, though, you really need to like understand also binding, like have machines that can bind books or like small like scores and whatever, not just like produce PDFs, but you want to like actually be able to. And I don't know how to do that, and I don't have machinery to do that. Industrial printing, but maybe one day that could be like a small business idea, and but for now I mostly just do it for myself, and when people friends of mine ask for things and whatever, I will do that. So I'm mostly engraving my own stuff or things that I find useful, for myself or for my friends. I do a lot of that, though. And I used to do a lot more. But I doing this, I create lots of flute parts for myself from things that don't have flute parts, but I might be able to find the full score. Or, I own like a copy of the full score of like How to Train Your Dragon scores. But I want to actually play the flute part, so I have to engrave the flute part, and I want to make it look nice for myself, so I spend time doing that, and then I can learn from just the flute part instead of, I already have printed the full score. But it's much easier to understand as a flute player, the flute stuff. I just have the flute score, or flute part. So I do a lot of that stuff. And this can become really, really time consuming. And, it is a job, music copyists in Hollywood, right? It's a very time consuming and like kind of time crunch job, right? You have the composer sending you these files, or actually normally the orchestrator will send you the files, and you have to make them look nice. The full score and all the parts within established conventions. Make sure all page turns are good. There's a certain number of measures per line. You got to print all of this, bind all of this, make it sure it's folded properly, and it so that it you can open it up quietly and without with ease of page turns. And you got to do this all and if, like the orchestrator is probably going to send it to you in the evening, and you have to have it on the player stains when the session starts in the morning. So it's a very labor intensive and time intensive job. So you need to be, if you want to do this, like, and even what I'm doing, which is not like a I need to do like this enormous project in a few hours so that Harry Potter gets recorded tomorrow morning. Even if I'm not in that level, it's really time consuming to enter notes and like layout of stuff. So you need to be really efficient with your time. And over the years, I've developed ways of, I know what it works for me, what is efficient for me. And Musescore 4 is not very efficient. So, like I said, this is the most complex thing I've done in Musescore 4. This is a transcription of Vaughan Williams' The Lark Ascending. I rearranged and adapted a little bit for flute for one of my flute friends. Okay, Now, this is a complicated score. So the first real issue is that Musescore 4 crashes all the time. It does not happen in Musescore 3. That is not good. Now, I presume it's crashing probably because there are all these, mixing capabilities and all these stuff designed to, make it sound nicer. Which, again, I don't care about. And if that's really the source, and I assume it is, all this playback stuff, because that's really all the intensive stuff that they added to it. If that's what's causing it to crash, I mean, really, I don't need it. Can I just disable all this stuff? It just takes way too long for everything to come up. Next problem is that in Musescore 3, we'll pull up Musescore 3 here, and I'll just, I got way too many instances open, but here, we'll look at this. Everything in Musescore 3, every time you open up a new file, it's all opened under the same existing instance of Musescore 3. This is not how Musescore 4 works. Each new score you're creating is its own separate instance of Musescore 4. Okay, so Musescore 3, you can see all of these different files. I opened up a whole bunch of things from the past that I worked on years ago. These are all in the same instance of Musescore 3 running, whereas in Musescore 4, all of these scores are different instances, which means that, unhelpfully, nothing that is useful loads. So, in order to create something as complicated as this massive score here, with a lot of really complicated stuff going on in it, I need to be, like I said, quite efficient. This probably took me 8 hours-ish, 7-8 hours of work. But that also included a little bit of decision making, not just pure note entry. I had to actually, decide on octaves and things like that, and how to handle double stops. So we'll say maybe 6 hours of engraving, which is not quite efficient enough. I need to be more efficient than that in a commercial setting, but I'm not, again, doing anything truly commercial. Although for this, but not truly
last
commercial.
Sentence. You broke up for a second.
Yeah. So the person I did this with, or did this for, is going to pay me for my effort, but I'm not doing this on a commercial scale, right? So in a commercial scale, I need to be a little bit faster. Okay. Well, next problem with this is that the more complicated it gets, the more it does random things with the layout. So I actually had intended to show this, but it's done something since I opened it a few minutes ago when we started this show. This originally was 7 pages long. It has become 9 pages somehow, without me touching anything.
Mm.
Despite me having carefully gone in and set every single, where each line ends, where each page ends. Nope, I have no idea how to get it back now. Now, what it was doing even before that, it had somehow, I don't know if you can see how well you can see this, deleted this slur over these notes. I don't know how it got deleted, but it was still at 7 pages. And then when I added the slur back, it went to 9 pages. But even without the slur, which a few minutes right before I got on the show, when I took the slur out again, it went back to 7 pages. When I added it, went to 9 pages. But now it's at 9 pages no matter what. Why that's happening, I have no idea. Is this help? It's probably not going to happen in your 1-page little piano tune that you wrote for fun. But that's really unacceptable for anything remotely this complicated. And this is just one instrument. I mean, I don't want to know what's going to happen if you try to use a Musescore 4 for something actually complicated. Let's say, I don't know, I need to use it for something like a film score of the scale that I did for Irving Operation First Light, with a lot of parts and a lot of music. I have no idea how Musescore 4 is going to handle that. That is just unacceptable if you want to compete, right, with the big software programs. So I don't know what's going on there, but again, that cannot happen. It shouldn't, like, adding or removing the slur just changes nothing in the spacing. If it were something dramatic, it like actually changes spacing on the first line. Okay, I get it, but it does not change the spacing, right? I can literally, I'll delete it. Does it change the spacing? Nope. I'll add it back again. Does it change the spacing? No. Okay. Not good. All right, other things that are really annoying for me. Well, we have in Musescore something called Navigator, which I don't know how well you can see it. But the Navigator is this little thing down here that gives me a view. Yeah, it gives me a view of every page, and I can easily go, scroll from where I am, top of page 1 to the bottom of page 5. Okay, and this is very useful when you have large things, which I often do. I find it really annoying. So because in Musescore 3, everything is, a default setting, right? My default setting is to have the navigator on. And if I go to, this other score, it's really hard to see, but it's down here because it's a much larger score, more parts. But the navigator's there, okay? Now, here I have a navigator on the Lark Ascending, but if I go to... here we have probably not a good example, and see it's already not responding, so I try to open up another file. Oh wow. Quite annoying. Here we have this thing I came up with, still not responding. Alright, so not only does it open up a new instance of each new score here opens up a new instance of Musescore 4. This is a 60-second waltz as composed by ChatGPT 3.5 from a couple of weeks ago. See, I can't even get this to respond. It's the tiny little file here, but that's Musescore 4. Does it respond? Well, eventually it should. But the navigator is not there. Now, granted, navigator not useful really here because it's just like 16 measures or whatever it is. Not useful, but it ought to be there. But it, because it, for instance, does not save my preferences, I have to go in and pin it each time I open up a score. Again, a minor inconvenience, yes, but we're talking about, a lot of small things. I'm not going to get into all of them, but just a couple of small things in a list of many small things that make my use of time not efficient.
So was this not an issue in Musescore 3?
Yeah, right. Musescore 3, it's my default setting, so every time I open up anything, it's already there.
I see. That's a weird thing to like...
All right.
It's weird to move backwards, I guess.
Yes. All right. Here we have in Musescore 3. So...
Oh, I don't think we can see this because it's a different window.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I have to go in and change that. Let's see. I have to I have to stop screen sharing first? Yes.
You might. I don't know what will happen.
Switch screener window.
What will happen once you do
Switch screener window. Here we go. Let's see if that... Okay.
Okay. Oh, that worked. Nice.
Okay. Nice. So, the main way of adding things that are not notes in Musescore, and all Musescores, we have, we call over here on our left, palettes. Okay. And they give you things like articulations, accidentals. You can click on them and add them to your notes. All right. Now, the most the most time-saving thing that you can do in Musescore is create your own palette. So I have here what I called in Musescore 3 main, my main palette, is everything that I need 95% of its time. So I don't have to keep scrolling through things, and it gets really tiring scrolling through things to find basic things that I use all the time. So they're just pinned right here.
Right.
Okay, now, in Musescore 4, you do not have this option. You can create. You gotta add palettes. I can create custom palette. Name my custom palette, whatever I want to name it. Alright? But because everything is a new instance of Musescore, when you open it, it does not load.
Oh,
Okay.
that's so dumb. Yeah.
Yes. There is a way to save these things, and then you have to manually go in and find the file, and then bring it in to this new instance of Musescore. But this is, again, a waste of my time. Okay. Small things that keep adding up and wasting my time. Another thing, if we can, hopefully this works. All right, I have a random test score here. All right. Okay, now I have to switch my window again. Yeah. Screen sharing. Switch screen. I hope this is the right one. It's hard for me to tell that these all look very similar. Oh, here we go. We'll try that. Okay. Okay. Let's just say untitled score with piccolo and flute on it. Okay, cool. It's just a test score. So they think that they're making certain things more efficient. Like the most common articulations, right? We have marcato, general accent, tenuto, and staccato. Okay, they think they're going to make things more efficient by pinning these to the kind of top of your screen. But this is not very useful because it no longer functions the same way. So in Musescore 3, actually, we'll just switch back and we'll switch here back to Musescore 3. We'll go to the test score. Okay, we'll delete this. Okay. Switch my screen back. Switch screen. Cool. All right, so in Musescore 3, this is again random test score. Let's say I'm going to enter a couple of notes, and I'm going to switch articulations between them because there is a keyboard shortcut to add these most common articulations. So I'm just going to create some random notes here, and I'm going to say F Control V gives me an accent, G Control N gives me tenuto, F Control N tenuto. D, Control V gives me an accent. Okay. Now, if let's say I want all four notes to have the same articulation, right? We're gonna have 4 Fs in a row, and they're all going to have a tenuto. I could do F Control N, F Control N, F Control N, F Control N. It's a little annoying, though, to have to do that for every note in a row instead of just doing F, 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 right? The faster way to just put all 4 Fs in and then select all of them and put in our tenuto, right? Just use Control N. That would be the efficient way of doing it if I have multiple notes in a row that have the same articulation. But as we saw with the first measure, if I have different articulations one after another, it adds very little time, personally, to just use the proper shortcut, keyboard shortcut. Now, in Musescore 4, and this probably not going to seem like something radical until you have had to enter thousands and thousands of notes, and where this is really a time killer. So in Musescore 4, I'm going to enter some notes, and in the way that same sort of way. So let's say I want and I think we had an accent tenuto, right? So I want to do that. Say I have F. Now if I do Control V, what it does is it toggles on everything after this becomes accented, but not the note I just entered. So now all these next few notes are accents. Oh, also really annoying. Backspace only goes back and deletes the last note you entered. You can't do backspace and go and keep deleting things beyond that you entered. Very annoying. Okay, that I can't just like hit backspace. I have no idea. So what this does, this is effective only if I hit Control V. If I do a note entry, I hit Control V, and then I know that all the next few notes, say the next 4 Fs, are all going to have accents. Okay, that saved me about half of a second. However, if I want to do, accent, and then tenuto, and then accent, and then tenuto, right? I can't do that. I now have to literally go, because the keyboard shortcut, I have to undo. If I wanted to use it, I have to undo it after each time, like toggle it off after toggling it on each note.
Yeah.
This is really, really annoying because notes often have articulations added to them. When you're entering thousands of notes, toggling on and off every single note that is not the same as before, instead of just adding the keyboard shortcut, literally doubles the amount of time note entry takes. Again, this is probably not a big problem if you are composing through this and you're like, oh, I wonder what happens if I put an accent on this next note. Oh, maybe I should put a tenuto on it, right? If you're playing around with it like that in a compositional sense, right, that's probably fine. But if you're trying to enter notes in bulk, like I said, this is just doubled my time. The backspacing thing too, that I can't, I made a mistake, I can't just keep, deleting what I did, right? It's quite annoying. Okay, so have we come up with anything in Musescore that is effective? In Musescore 4? Well, the claim is that it has made things look more professional. Let's just have a test of one of the big problems in Musescore that has always existed, which is when we have beams of notes that are above the staff, and it's ascending, the beam tends to have an angle that is too steep for general stylistic guidelines. Let's just test this right now. I'm going to test. All right, that's decent. Okay. But I can't delete it. Right, using backspace, I have to just select the whole measure and delete it. Right. All right. If we do the opposite direction, we go like FD or FD. Okay, it's a decent. It's maybe a little bit too steep. This beam between these two notes, but it's okay. All right. Now, Musescore 3. I did the same thing in Musescore 3. Switch back here to Musescore 3. Switch window. All right. I'll just do a comparison. Do eighth notes. I think we did E, D, F. Okay, so yes. Now, our beam is not quite in the right space here. All right. But pretty simple because the angle is pretty good, so I'll just do that. It took me almost no time to adjust that. Okay.
It's cool that you can adjust it. I wasn't expecting you to just be able to, like, click and drag.
Oh, yeah. Actually, clicking and dragging would be annoying. Using different keyboard shortcuts.
Gotcha.
Because this is what I do.
Yeah.
I know every shortcut on this thing. So not okay. Did I really save much time in the editing phase where I've entered all the notes? Now I have to make sure it looks nice. Maybe marginally, right? But we've also made editing things, afterwards much harder, and it's gonna be a lot. I don't know if it's really worth trying to show some details of how to like edit text and whatever, but even like basic text things, right? Now I just create some text. I'll say text, right? On my score, or the Z. There you go. Text, right? I can also very easily do Control B, right? And it just automatically made it bold. Test now, okay? Does this work in Musescore 4? No. I can't use these basic commands like Control B for bold. I have to enter the text and then highlight it and then go back and go to some separate editing, I have to toggle through 2 rounds of like editing text to find bold, make it bold. Why?
It sounds like they rewrote the code from the ground up or something. Like they just kind of redid the program. I can't imagine why they would just delete what's working. I don't get it.
Right. Now, my general conclusion, you could find all sorts of small things, like slurs. Oh, the slur could have, maybe a little bit nicer angle to it, or a little bit nicer curve. And yes, they spent apparently a ton of design effort in Musescore 4 on designing silly little, making these curves look a little bit more like some famous, I think probably like Boozy and Hawk's music publishing their house style of, what like degree curvature slurs have.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Apparently they spent a lot of time on that. If I go back to Musescore
all curves
4,
should follow the golden ratio only.
go back to Musescore 4, we can
behold the curves.
delete these notes. Like, can't just do backspace. We'll do B, E, F like before. Okay, we'll do slurs. No, same issue too with like controlling slurs. It doesn't start on the note you want in Musescore 4. It starts on the next note, right? I don't know why. Is this slur really much different or nicer than the one before? Maybe. Maybe it's a little bit nicer, but in the time I have saved in Musescore 3 a note entry, I can go back and just play with the angle of the curve, the curvature or whatever of my slur manually, and do this for every single slur if I wanted to out there, and I will still have ended up with spending less time than I did on Musescore 4. Why? All right. This is not conducive for like truly mass, commercial usage, right? Even non-commercial usage, like what I'm doing it, where I'm entering like, things because I'm entering notes, not trying to compose. These are probably again minor inconveniences if you are trying to compose. But
does this stuff work like, I don't know, have you, in the other non-free, like the paid options, like alternatives to this, does Musescore 3 or 4 operate more similarly?
I would say, this Musescore 4 is designed to look more like them, right? These small little like the ratios of the curves and whatever. It's supposed to look nicer without you having to put in effort. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe it does, but in terms of ease of use, Musescore 3 is much closer to these programs. Not that they're necessarily great. You kind of they have a, different learning curve. So Sibelius's learning curve it's pretty easy to make something look nice, but to do really complicated things, it requires a lot of effort. Finale requires a lot more. It has a much steeper learning curve initially to make it look nice, but it tends to be kind of more powerful without, intensive study for like more complicated things. So they added a whole bunch of things and like really esoteric sort of things in Musescore 4, like all sorts of ancient notation. Oh, you can now engrave something that has like the kind of bar lines and whatever, and the neumes that Guido Verezzo was using when he first notated Gregorian chant. Okay, is this like a truly useful feature for like almost everyone in the entire world? No. Okay, how many times are people out there needing to replicate chant notation from 1200? Not very often. I guess if that's what you do, and you could use Musescore for, but there's probably better ways of doing that anyway. I'm sure there's got to be some dedicated program that does a better job of that.
Either way, you would think that for stuff like that, because like on the developer side, stuff like that's going to be super and like time intensive for them to develop. So you would think that like maybe they just focus on the core use cases like for free software, and then maybe they, I don't know, release a package for people who are interested in the more niche stuff, and then they can pay $10. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I know somebody who is very into historical music and notation, and he has coded his own sort of thing. I don't know exactly what he's using, but his own fonts and like symbols that like copying Bach's handwritten symbols, so you can use Bach's handwritten symbols. But like again, I know why he's doing it. He's trying to like make Bach more legible but still look nice, right? You don't actually need to own a Bach manuscript to make look like you have a Bach manuscript. But again, I don't know exactly what he's using, but very very niche, right? And not using Musescore for. I'm sure if I asked him, he'd give me whatever software or whatever code that if I wanted to use that. But no, that's just like taking up space on Musescore 4 and on my hard drive now. Anything practical? Is there anything practical? The most helpful things I can find on Musescore is that, okay, so here on this test score, right, I have piccolo and flute. If I want to split them out, so I've created a full score, I just hit parts up here. But I have to do this all the time. I want to open up these parts. I say open all, okay? And oh, how useful is that? It has made this gigantic. Not useful, right? So, was that helpful? No. And if I save this score and I open it up again, will those parts be there? No. In Musescore 3, will those parts be there? Yes. And did those parts look legible and like not blown up 10,000 times? Yes. Why? I can't understand what the logic is. I'm sure there is a way to make this thing not so insanely blown up. I have yet to figure out how to do that. I'm sure I could go read their help guide and figure out how to do it, but it's not intuitive. And these things should be intuitive. This is a basic function, right? Creating parts from your score. Basic function. Okay. Anything else useful? Well, about the only thing I can think of is when I go to create a new score. I'm creating a new score. Okay. Oh, it's probably going to not show up. It's going to create because it creates a new instance, I'm sure. Yeah. So you can't even see that now. I have to go and open up this window because it's Musescore 4. It opens up an entirely new window. It gives you. I'll just tell you what it does. When you select what instruments you want to add to your score, it will default to putting them in. You can select orchestral score order, or marching band order, or choir order, or jazz combo order, right? So you don't have to know that yourself. It will do that for you. Helpful sorting. Okay. Well, it's really only a time saver if you don't know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing, so okay. It's saved almost no time because I'm gonna select them in score order anyway. All right, so let's say I've created a new score for flute, and let's see. It didn't even do that. It didn't even give me the option to look at tempo. Let me try this again. Create another new score. Not that you can see it, but okay, we're gonna create another instance. We're gonna add a flute, We're going to go, I guess, to go next, right? And, okay. It makes it a little bit more, like, obvious how to, like, add a pickup measure at the start. But that's it. It just looks a little bit nicer and makes it a little bit, one function a little bit more obvious. That's it. The only other good thing about Musescore 4 is it makes it a little bit easier to delete measures. Like if you say you have to enter, like when you start a new score, how many measures you want to add to it. You can always add measures later. Now there's just a handy button. Like let's say you said, I assume I need 400 measures. It turns out to be 300 measures. Now there's a handy way to delete those extra 100 measures. Well, you could do that in Musescore 3 as well, but it's, you just have to know what the command is. It's just a little bit more obvious if you've never used it before how to delete them. That's about the only useful thing I can think of in Musescore 4. Again, sound is maybe a little bit nicer. You can play with mixing, make it sound a little bit nicer with mixing, whatever, but that's it. So we've improved it in almost no way and made a whole bunch of, found like every way we could possibly make the note entry process more inefficient. I cannot understand how this is supposed to make Musescore 4 more competitive with these programs software programs you're gonna pay $700 for. I don't understand how this is supposed to help Musescore become the choice of composers out there.
Is it known how Tentacruel feels about this?
My understanding is that he's really heavily involved, and he comes out every few months in videos talking about how great the next update is going to be. I don't know how I don't know if he's necessarily using it in such like a, again, even like quasi commercial way that I am, right? The sort of volume of stuff I'm doing. So maybe some of these things only become more obvious. Right? These inefficiencies become magnified when you have so many things to enter. I can't really tell, but I haven't really seen him complain about anything.
Many different audiences. They should have tested with many different use cases and whatever.
Right. I mean, because I would love to not pay, for keep paying for a license to use Sibelius, right? I'd love to have this for free forever and free updates forever, and be able to use it in a quasi or maybe someday actual commercial manner. But as of now, it is just so inefficient that it's just not worth using, right? I just using Musescore 3 and saving the time, taking some of the time that I saved from not using Musescore 4, and making some small little things like making the beams have a little bit nicer, less steep angle or whatever. And I'm still finishing in less time. So, yes, I cannot in good faith recommend Musescore 4. Again, it probably is more useful if you are a composer and you really want to use it to like play with sounds and like get direct feedback. Oh, if I play, put a B here in the flute, how is it going to sound? Maybe Musescore 4 is better than Musescore 3 in that regard. But if you're really trying to use it as a notation program, right, and not as like a compositional tool, I can't recommend it. You can still download Musescore 3. So just, if you need a free software, use Musescore 3. Take a little bit of time, learn some of the shortcuts, and you'll be so much faster. So yeah, and that is my review of Musescore 4.
Yeah, I should have titled this "Everything Wrong with Musescore 4" instead. I just want to read, because I was curious as to what people's thoughts were, and I just want to read the posts on Reddit. I literally, all I did was type in Musescore 4 on Reddit and just see what comes up. Musescore 4 is a joke. Musescore 4 is in a horrible state. Musescore 4 rant. What are the downsides of Musescore 4? F Musescore 4 in its entirety. Frustrations with Musescore 4. Musescore 4 on Fedora is not usable. Are you using Musescore 3 or Musescore 4? I mean, yeah, it doesn't really look good for them.
Yeah. I mean, this. I think we're almost at a year and a half of Musescore 4 now. And I saw, like I said, they made a big announcement about like updating names of like things and updating like the how easy it is for like classrooms to use musescore.com or whatever for these. Okay, I mean, I guess they have an audience for that. I guess if they're making these changes, but like I think they announced it like these are you've asked and we listened. Like, I guess that's what that's the thing that people are asking for, to make it a little bit easier for like students in your like beginner band class to use Musescore online. I mean, okay, maybe that is more important to majority of people than like the ease of hitting backspace to undo your mistake. Like you can like, I don't know, say like any like word editing program out there, right? Oh, I hit a G instead of an F. All right, let me hit backspace. Nope.
The weird part to me is that it works one time.
Yeah,
that's the weirdest part to me.
but right. I keep so I lose even more time because I keep forgetting this. And I tried Musescore 4. I'm like, oh, I entered like 2 notes wrong, right? Or I entered the wrong rhythm, so I had to go back and hit backspace once, hit backspace twice. And I'm like, oh wait, I actually have to just go and delete the entire measure. Like, my goodness. And the adding articulation thing, when you're, like I said, when you're entering thousands of notes, it takes twice as long to toggle on and then toggle off on each note.
Well, seems like a cell phone from Musescore people. Oh boy. I think I probably will change the title after we're done.
Also, like I said, I mean, just I know I'm just repeating myself now, but like, come on, it crashes all the time. I'm even having the problem like we saw at the very beginning, like. It's just randomly changing the number of pages that it's spread out on. Like, why? Like, could you imagine you had like, you're writing a paper for your, class or whatever, and it's you read a 5-page paper, and suddenly it's like, oh, we're just gonna randomly increase the spacing somewhere, so it's now 7 pages. But like, you needed to have 1.5 spacing because that's what your class teacher required, right? And oops, it's not that anymore. Like. What Word doesn't do that, right?
Oh boy. Oh good. All right. You want to transition us over to Are You with Reddit?
Yeah. Well, let me stop sharing my screen first. But yeah, so that's been my review of Musescore 4. Yeah, so thanks. If you have any thoughts, if you are a big fan of Musescore 4 and changes, or you have issues in the past with Musescore, and you or any thoughts on this, or you just want to commiserate with me on like lamenting the state of Musescore, definitely let us know in the comments or join us on our Discord server, and yeah, I'm happy to share in your feelings or disagree. If you disagree with if the Musescore 4 is great, happy to talk about that too. So yeah, you can join us on our Discord, and yeah, make sure you like and subscribe. And special thanks again to our supporters on Locals, K Kairos, Alex Egbert, 99 Crime, and Post.
Indeed.
Very surprised that screen sharing thing just worked out the box.
I am
very rare
absolutely shocked. This is new information for us. This makes screen sharing a viable option for all of us, so this is good. This is good. All right, sweet. Now for Arguing with Reddit.
You have to pull up a hot take too.
Oh yes. Here we go.
Mixed Media Movies.
And welcome back to Mixed Media. This is our Arguing with Reddit segment where I will be reacting to hot takes on movies. But before we go ahead and begin that, we should reintroduce ourselves for those of us who are just tuning in. So, my name is Irving Nestor. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur. I own a company called Ariella based out of Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania.
Hi, I'm Ben Costello. I'm a flute player and media composer.
And my name is Nathan Nestor. I'm a 3D modeler and video game developer.
All right, if you're new to the show, first of all, hit the subscribe button, obviously, and hit the like button. If you're if you've enjoyed our first half of this show, Ben talked about Musescore. Pretty much everything wrong with it. Go check it out. And this segment, Arguing with Reddit, what we do is we play a little game. My co-hosts here have found some hot takes for me to react to, and I will react to them live. I haven't seen them yet. I picked one for myself, so I've seen that one. But otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to come across. So first here, I'll start with Nathan, if you want to let me know what you picked out here.
Sure. Yeah. So this one's pretty simple. Well, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. It's from r/filmmakers. The title says, "I want to simulate the light fire I want to simulate the light fire makes as I am unable to make a real fire in the location I'm filming in." And the specific scenario that's described is two characters sitting around a fire, and so wanting some light, and there's a bunch of foliage around, so the person doesn't want to take the chance with a real fire. The person says that the budget is €50. So
What?
well, the clarification is I am a
I thought you were going to say 1,000 after 50. I'm not going to lie.
It says, by the way, I am a college student working on about a €50 budget. I'm hoping it doesn't mean entirely for the entire project. Well, I don't know. You can give an answer for if you want the entire project, what the fire would look like, or if the fire itself, the effect is a €50 euro setup. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say €50 to do the fire effect. I hope, because even that might not be enough. We'll see. As I get my brain juices going.
Oh,
so,
sorry about this is £50. I got the symbol wrong, so I'm gonna do the conversion.
£50.
So we know what that actually is. I'm pretty sure it's decently different. $63 US. So
okay, I got
a
an
little bit
extra,
better.
get an extra 13 in there. So for $60 for a fire effect, let's see if I can think of something. So anything, if you have lights already, I mean, that's going to really contribute to making this work. Because if you have any light at all, it doesn't matter what the color of the light is. It doesn't matter if it's even a flashlight. It does matter how bright it is, though, and it does matter how easy it is to switch it on and off. And now that I say that, you're going to have a very not realistic looking flame if it can't be dimmed. So you want it to be dimmable, not just on and off. I've done effects in the past. Like I've done a TV effect before for a short film where what I did was I had one of my roommates flicking one of the light panels on and off, and I had an ambient light panel acting as the screen, so that the difference in light output wasn't so drastic. So it kind of gave you that vibe of like cuts in a TV or something like this. Fire is a lot more complicated because it flickers, but it also kind of like dims and glows and all this kind of stuff. So it's going to be a little bit more complicated. Did they say what the arrangement was? Effectively, I want to look like my two characters are sat around a fire. Oh, this is hard. This is hard for £50. Okay, let's assume we have a light because there's no other way.
By the way. There's more detail. That makes it a little bit harder. That I totally skipped over. Quote, "It also needs to be battery powered as I do not have a power bank for mainline plugs."
Man. I mean, that's okay. So I'm going to assume you have a light source because that's the best. I can't do this for you for $60-something if you don't have a light source. So let's assume you have a light source. Now, if you don't have a light source, you can get very cheap with a light source that will work for this purpose that's dimmable by getting can lights. I haven't recommended can lights. I don't know if I've ever recommended can lights on the show before, because I used to use them back in college. I think I've used actually can lights for OFL, for the cabin scene, I believe. We used them for cabin lights, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a very good experience. But that is as cheap. Like, if you can budget can lights with a dimmer switch on it, that might cost you $100 in of itself. Because even the can is probably going to be like, I don't know, $20-$30, and then the light bulb has to be bright enough, so it's going to be another $30-$40, and then the dimmer switch is going to be like $10 or something. So like, $70, $80, whatever for that light. So you can get pretty cheap with it, but it's not zero, right? So let's assume you have at least something like that. What you can do, actually, I'm just thinking of a way to get rid of the dimmer switch. Okay, you can get rid of the dimmer switch. Here's how it's going to go. In fact, you're not going to use switches at all. You're just going to we're just going to turn it on and off, or not turn it on. We're going to leave it on, and then we're going to use a light modifier to fix the problem. So, batteries. I just remembered the battery part. Well, that can light is not going to work off of a battery. And if you wanted to work off of a battery, it would cost you like another like few $100 to like get the necessary stuff to make that work properly. At that point, I recommend an aperture light, handheld aperture light that's going to be less bright, but much more versatile. It might actually have a built-in fire effect on it. A lot of those actually have stuff like that, and that might look half decent. So look into aperture tiny portable lights. That those might be like $70 or something like that.
What about a phone light?
Like a phone light? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I don't think you can sell that one. I don't think that's gonna work. It's too pointy. It's too much of a point source.
What if people like some sort of like a paper or something over it? I don't know.
I feel like at that point you're probably gonna dim it down way too much. It's just not gonna be bright enough.
Well, get everyone on set to just take their phone out.
Collective phone. Oh boy. Okay, so I think their best bet is probably a cheap $70-$80 aperture light. It probably actually has a fire effect on it, and bring it really close to your subjects to get the right level that you need. Is it going to look perfect? Probably not. Would 2 be better than 1? Absolutely. If you could just swing 2 of those lights, you get to keep those lights after you buy them forever, right? Like, I mean, they're just useful in general. So invest into 2 of those tiny little aperture lights if you can. If you can't do those and you're just working with available lighting, what you can do is you can use a light modifier to kind of do the dimming and shaping of the light for you, and you just need someone on set. You need help to do this, to dance the light modifier around the light, to cut it and dim it and move it. You don't have to buy a light modifier. You can use like what would not cut the light too much. Perhaps something like a shower curtain, the clear ones, like a clear shower curtain, may diffuse it just enough. It may diffuse it just enough, and it may allow you enough control to get the light to do weird warpy things. Maybe.
I wonder if you. Now I'm thinking if you bought like. Oh no! It's like you bought acrylic, which is like dirt cheap, and then you scratched it up. But I think that might. I think when you scratch acrylic, it becomes kind of opaque, on the scratches. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I guess that might not work.
Yeah, I mean, white sheets are always the classic in film, like regardless of your budget level. But you could buy the cheapest, thinnest weight white sheets so that you're cutting out as little light as possible. Like $1 for a gigantic piece of linen. You want it to be as thin and cheapo as possible because you want light to actually be able to pass through it significantly. Because I'm assuming the light you're going to be working with is dim, right? So you might try something like that. You could use reflectors, but that costs money, more than £50. That's where my mind is going. In terms of the color, there's a few tricks. Here's where you can do $0 tricks for the color of the light. You can have zero other. This only works if you have no other light source in scene. If you have the moon, not going to work. If you have some background practical, you have a house in the background, car lights on, this is not going to work. But even doing it is not going to be a perfect effect. But you could just use color temperature to fake the warmness of fire. You just go into your camera settings and you turn that Kelvin rating up, right, to make all the colors basically warm. And if it's your only light source, it'll look like everything's warm because of the light source, if that makes sense. So you could try something like that, but again, that only works if you only have one source in your scene. Otherwise, your other sources are also going to be warmed up as well, and then it'll look weird. So those are my suggestions. I think it's actually impossible to do anything less than what I said. So let's see what other people said. You can literally just get a cheap light that have programmable colors. Yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah, so get those aperture lights. I think that's the best. I'm pretty sure most small RGB lights have scenes of flickering candle/fire. Yeah, that's what I. Yeah, there you go. Free lighting apps that will turn your phone screen into a light source. It's probably going to be too dim. Your footage might literally not be usable. I'm not saying that because, you should run the highest quality of lights. It's just, at a certain point, you're just going to get a very noisy image, no matter what camera you're using. Use your laptop with one of those Christmas fireplace videos going. That's probably that's the cheapest. That actually got cheaper than me. Now, the laptop screen may actually start to get just bright enough, maybe, depending on your particular laptop. So that's a pretty
Use a couple of them. Use a couple of laptops, right?
A couple of laptops, exactly.
Combine it with the phones.
Exactly. Well, that actually is the best one I've seen in terms of creativity, because some laptop screens can get absurdly bright, so maybe that would actually work out well for you. So that's that one. That was fun though. Got me to try to think if I had to do this right now on set, what the heck would I do? Let's see here. This next one is... I'll pull Ben's next, if you want to explain.
Yeah, simple. This person just... the title is, I need Warner Brothers to start developing their Hanna-Barbera IPs. And they said, they have so many titles that they could develop. And, said, yes, they've had some movies for decades, like the Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, the Smurfs. It says it's been a while since they've tried tackling them. And they particularly think that good films would be The Jetsons and Johnny Quest. And they said that apparently a decade ago there was some talk about having a Johnny Quest film with Zac Efron playing Johnny, but they kind of shelved that. So they want to see some of those titles develop into films.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but hard disagree. Mostly because, one, I'm tired of just, like, the retreading of every single IP in existence. Oh my gosh. Do we need a Flintstones movie? Like, is that something people need in their soul, in their heart of hearts? They just really want a Flintstone movie? I don't know. I feel like most people who like the Flintstones will just go watch, the old stuff. I don't know. But even if that was the case, you mentioned Johnny Quest and you said Zac Efron as Johnny Quest. That sounds like the cringiest thing I've ever heard. First of all, maybe he could pull it off. I mean, I think he's actually a talented actor. But I'm just saying, like, the image, like, I can imagine what that would look like, and it's not a good image. But that implies a live action, Johnny Quest thing. But why? Why do we have to live action everything? I only do live action personally.
Zac Efron could voice act. I guess it's not 100%.
Okay, that's true. He could be implying voice acting. He could be. That's true. I hope. Because I am tired of these live. I only do live action. I love live action stuff. That's how my brain works in the cinema world. Not that I would turn down an opportunity to direct something animated, but I'm a live action person. But like mediums are mediums. Like some things just belong in the animation sphere, and we should like not force everything to be live action. Like Avatar. Like we just don't need that. We don't need it. Let's see. Oh, so they have 0 votes. So I guess not a particularly hot take. I think it's only a matter of time. That's probably true, unfortunately. Just leave the classics alone. Yeah, I agree. Just give me New Space Ghost. I don't even know what that is. They just shelved a freaking Looney Tunes movie. There's no way they're touching Hanna-Barbera anytime soon. I mean, make a Looney Tunes movie, but can it be animated? Like, I don't... Can we not... Can we not, like, put LeBron James in it or something weird like that? Can we just, like, have an animated Looney Tunes movie?
I mean, as long as you don't give, like, the Little Mermaid, treatment to it. Like...
Yeah, exactly.
There are probably ways to have a Tasmanian devil that looks, like... not terrifying. I mean, like there are better and worse examples of this live action thing, Like,
can you imagine them modeling it after a real life Tasmanian?
I mean, they probably try to do that. And a Roadrunner and Rabbit. And...
It's so ridiculous. I can't. We're like living in film dystopia right now. All right. I don't want to think about this one anymore. It goes away. Let's do the last one for me here. Let's see. So I wasn't sure. I had 2 of them that looked interesting. I'm actually going to do this one because it kind of fits the first one that we did thematically. So let me... Oh, what did I do? Did something... Okay, there we go. This one I picked out for myself. I didn't actually read the post. I don't know if there's much of a post. And I didn't really think about it, so this is still kind of a live reaction. Hot take. And this is from 2 years ago, I acknowledge, but I don't think I've actually... I don't know if I've reacted to a take like this. I'm not sure. Hot take. Having a nice camera does matter. I hear all over YouTube and Reddit that it's not the camera that makes the image look good, it's the person behind it, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that is true to an extent, but after coming from an older Sony cameras and upgrading to a Sony FX3, my whole perspective has changed. I went from being able to shoot for 20 minutes until my battery was on low, constantly being blah, blah, blah. Okay, so all this technical stuff, that's great. It goes way beyond the specs of the camera, but more how the camera functions and operates as a reliable tool. If you can't trust your camera, you can't trust your ability as a videographer / filmmaker. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Okay. I mean, it's one of the things that has irked me since back when the first time I ever got like a ton of camera gear around me was back in college when I worked at the Digital Media Center there, and that was the first time I ever like had like the ability to use many different kinds of cameras at many different kinds of price points, making recommendations for new cameras and stuff like this. And this changes your perspective. And for the use case too, it was a rental house, right? So, people are going to be putting these things through their paces, doing the most absurd things with them that you could possibly imagine. There are many stories there.
They're college filmmakers.
Exactly. And then they're gonna come back, and it's gonna go through like I don't know whatever like epic journey the camera's gonna go through, and it's gonna come back, and the person's gonna say it wasn't them. So that's the kind of environment that you're working in, and I guess when you look at gear from a more professional level like that, and you see the variety of gear, you see people of all skill levels using them, you realize the gear really does matter. Like, it really does. But not in the ways probably. Well, I don't know. I think it's like an overstated thing to say it's not the gear, it's the user. It's like, okay, I think we all understand now that you need to actually be skilled in order to make good images with your camera. But there's also like there's also a actual handicap that occurs when you're using the wrong gear for the wrong task. It could just be your time, right? Like, and that's really important. Your time is really valuable. So if you spend, because your dynamic range isn't very good, let's say you're shooting a film, it's high contrast anyway, so you don't actually need in the end image a lot of dynamic range, right? And dynamic range just means like the difference between the highest levels in an image, the brightest parts of an image, and the darkest parts of an image. So let's say the dynamic range of your end product is actually not very high. It's very contrasty. It's very, let's say it's all very dark or something like this. But the end image is not the same thing as the scene in front of you, where the dynamic range could be quite wide, much wider than your cheap camera can handle. Let's say you fell for one of those stupid YouTube videos, which is like your iPhone can now make a movie, which is ridiculous. It's absurd. It's absurd. I would never recommend anyone do that unless it was the only resource they had. Then I mean, go for it. But if you take that iPhone and you put it in a challenging scene, let's say a scene with a fire in it, let's say it's a fake fire, even. Everything's pretty dark, but then in the background there's a porch light on. Now, with your eyes, you're like, this doesn't look like it's going to cause a problem. But then you put your iPhone there, and it has really crappy dynamic range, and it has a tiny sensor, all that kind of stuff. And that light looks trash. It is blowing out the right side of the frame. If you up the exposure, it's washing out the tiny little lens. But then you bring down the exposure, and you can't even see your scene. By the time you make the light in the background look good. Is that a you problem? Did you cause the dynamic range to be bad in your camera? Maybe you didn't think of this situation beforehand, and maybe that there's some fault there. Okay. But how many factors are you going to have to account for by using an iPhone to get a good image before it's just not worth your time anymore? It's just too much hell, you know? So, instead of, like, bringing a replacement lamp for that background lamp, turning it off, and then turning another one on, which requires you to buy another prop lamp, maybe you could have spent an extra $200 to even upgrade to a GoPro. We talk about these things at such weird extremes. I think the trend has kind of been going away as our generation has gotten older, and older meaning more capable of buying more expensive stuff. I think the conversation has gotten better as the YouTube generation has gotten wealthier, if that makes sense. But it used to be really, really bad advice almost all the time. It was like, buy the cheaper camera so you could buy a $400 camera so you can buy, obviously lens is extremely important. So that goes without saying, but, so you can buy, I don't know, 2 more reflectors. It's like, no, like that's wrong. Like, like you can actually shoot a scene with 0 reflectors. You don't need a reflector you could design a whole film that doesn't need reflectors. Shockingly. But you can't design a film that, or you can't effectively, of course you can do anything, but like you can't effectively, without wasting tons of time and money, ironically, designing a scene around a really crappy sensor. So yeah, no, people really overhype this conversation about gear, and it's very annoying. That being said, you don't need an Alexa to make something that will be really impactful and great. In fact, you could make something on an iPhone that is truly great. I'm just saying, do you want to? Like, or is it just someone telling you, like, that this is a good idea because they're trying to glorify the poverty way of doing film, as if that's something you should be seeking. It'd be like right, like no one would tell you like just buy the cheapest flute. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so ridiculous, you know?
Although there are a plethora of videos out there where it's like, this professional plays a $100 flute and a $40,000 flute. Can you tell the difference? So it is a phenomenon. But no, I mean, it's like the difference. Yeah, like as a flute player, right? Like the difference between like the flute I play on now and the flute I started on in 4th grade, right? It's probably not like the difference. Even if you watch one of these videos of like some famous flute player playing the $100 flute and the $40,000 flute, the difference is probably not so much like in the end sound that you get, as the listener. The difference is how hard did I have to work to make it sound like that? And
exactly.
That you can't hear, right?
Yeah.
Like I can play everything. Well, minus the fact that like my first flute can only go to low C instead of low B, but minus the one note, I can play everything on my flute I got in 4th grade. But the effort is going to take to make it sound nice, and like the amount of like how difficult it is to like move my fingers on it efficiently is you can't hear that, right? But I can certainly feel that.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of it, like the poster said too, and like you're saying, a lot of it's just in like the user friendliness of it, of the experience. It's not even just it's the professional. It's literally just when we were talking about professional gear, right? That's what we mean. It's reliable. It is suitable for most professional tasks without having to reach for some other niche fix to the problem or something like this. It fulfills most of your professional needs. And, like I said, you don't need the RED camera or the RE camera or whatever to make something truly special. You could make it with $1,000 camera, but a lot of people are going to hear $1,000 camera and get sad, when I really think they should instead, ask themselves, where are they at in their filmmaking journey, and does it justify what is really an entry-level camera at $1,000, right? Which is truly amazing that that's even possible today. I could rant on and on, but I have 4 cameras, right? Like and I'm blessed to be able to have these 4 cameras and whatever, but I know the reason I own each one of them, and I agonized over the decision of buying these things, and obviously there's going to be a buyer's bias in what is like, I don't want to feel buyer's remorse for things that I bought, right? So maybe take what I say with a grain of salt, but these purchases have, with my hard-earned money and lenses for each of these things too, a bunch of lighting equipment, I felt the difference between before and after I had these things, and it's just way more freedom, way more trust in being able to pull off something, and I still don't have enough stuff. Like I in terms of being a studio, I probably have like 1/100th of like what what any high volume production studio probably has. So yeah, it's just overblown conversation. But that's not to say if you can't afford that $1,000 camera, but you have an iPhone, that you shouldn't be filmmaking. Obviously, like, do it anyway. You need practice anyway. But can you sell that film? Can you expect a reliably good product? Don't like overhype yourself and say, why doesn't my film look like was his name Soderbergh, or I can't remember his name, who did Tangerine, I believe, was a famous iPhone film. You look at the set of Tangerine, my goodness, they spent tons of money trying to make that iPhone look good. They spent tons and tons of money, and it still looks bad in my opinion. It doesn't even look good. So just be mindful of that. Gear does actually affect the end product. Ask yourself, would you rather shoot your film on, I don't know, an 80 Super 8, like average Super 8 camera? Maybe if it's if that fits the vintage vibe or whatever, but most of the time, for any other type of story, you're gonna be like, that sounds like awful hell. and you're probably right. So, yeah. Any interesting comments? Some people agree. Paid work at 100% is true. Yeah, it's way more important when you're doing professional stuff. 100%. Yeah. So that's my take there. I guess it's not a terribly hot take. Sweet. All right. Well, that was our show for today. And if you have any hot takes, by the way, or if you disagree with anything that I said, please go to our Discord. You can go to mixedmediapodcast.com to find a link to the Discord, or you could go to a link in the description, and you'll easily find a link to our Discord there as well, where we talk throughout the week about all these things. If you disagree with me, I especially want to hear from you, how you've got into Sundance making an iPhone film, and
iPhone film, live action Jetsons.
Yeah, exactly. Streaming on Apple, whatever they call it, Apple Plus only. Oh boy. Yeah, if you disagree with me or whatever, I'd love to hear those reasons. Or if you have any other hot takes for me to react to, or any of my co-hosts to react to in their respective fields, you can find our link to the Discord there. We'll collect them. We'll 100% react to them the next time we have an opportunity to. But besides that, we stream every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. The podcast is evolving and changing and stuff over time, so please forgive us as our times and stuff are all over the place everywhere. But things are changing and stuff like this, so that's good. Whose turn is it for Friday?
Well, it should be mine, I guess, because I didn't say anything today.
Oh, yes, I think so. Yes. Okay, so Nathan will be doing a fun day. I don't know if he knows what he's doing yet on Friday. Do you? Or
I assume game dev. Continuing whatever I was doing like a month ago or something. So yeah, that's probably what's gonna be happening.
Yes. So you can join Nathan for his game dev sessions, and he's doing that on Friday. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Yep, thanks for watching and listening.
Bye.
Look, tell a man no trouble. I don't want beef, man. I just want vibes. Big man like me, no need for the telephone hype. I got too much getting online. One rule, then I'm on site. Wrong move, I bet they gon' ride. No need for the telephone hype, nah. No need for the snoozing. Big whip outside, I'm cruising. Big stick inside, no losing. Better watch out for the snake and Judas is. Don't ask them who this is. I bet they know what I'm moving in. I bet I show it into a dim. How you hate and then lose again? How you hating my vibes? Why you wasting my time? Getting hype on my line. Tell a man I don't want feedback, I just want relax. Brand new whip, two-tone, I need that brand new hit. You know, like lean back, brand new bits I live in. We pack, man, you never gon' like us. Get them on sight now, let them on light. That way they know I'm more righteous. Look at my life, I'm living alright. I'm nice, you know I'm alright. Cause looking like Christ, no need for the hype or fight or telephone vibe.